I'd like to call September 10th, 2018 Village Board meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Trustee Stapleton?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Okay. This evening we'll be starting with Trustee Stapleton,
Here.
Blatzer, Kwasniewski,
Here.
Maher,
Here.
McClafferty,
Here.
and Snagowski.
Here.
Okay, great. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Need approval for the minutes of the August 27th, 2018 Village Board meeting, as well as approval for disbursements. Can I have a roll call for that, please?
So moved, second.
Okay, we have a roll call from Trustee Snagowski, seconded by Trustee Kwasniewski. Do we have any questions or comments regarding those two items? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Okay, Stapleton,
Yes.
Blatzer, Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
McClafferty,
Yes.
Snagowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we probably have the shortest meeting as far as agenda that we've ever had, so we're gonna make that up for a lot of mayor-mentioned comments here, so bear with me here. So, coming up, the Historical Society will have a Canal Quarry tour on September 15th at 9 a.m. and a downtown Lamont walking tour on Saturday, September 29th at 4 p.m. RSVPs are required and there is a nominal fee. Please call the Historical Society at 630-257-2972 or visit their website at lamonthistorical.org for additional information. Also, coming up this Saturday, but first, before I say that, I'd like to thank everyone that came out for this past Saturday. The high school had a great fundraiser. They had several thousand people out there. The weather held out, which is probably the most important thing. And again, appreciate everyone's supporting of the high school event. So this following week, we have the Pollyanna Brewing Company will hold their annual Oktoberfest. That will be in the Metro lot as well. That's on September 15th from 3 to 11 p.m. It's this Saturday, obviously. Visit their Facebook page for more information. Also, the Franciscan Village on that same night is holding a tour of Tuscany from 4 to 7 p.m. Again, that's on the 15th. This will include wine tasting, abundant food tables, and music. For that outing, please call 630-243-3401 for additional information. Also, the Historical Society will hold a night of magic and mystery. It's a masquerade ball on Saturday, September 22nd. That starts at 6 p.m. at the Slovenian Center. The cost is $75 per person, and all proceeds will benefit the Old Stone Church. You can visit their website. Again, it's the lamonthistorical.org for additional information on this, as well as tours and different ways to donate. The Lamont Park District is having a drive-in movie night on Saturday, September 22nd from 7 to 9 p.m. At Centennial Park South parking lot. They're telling me you need to park your car, open the tailgate, and bring your snacks and enjoy the movie. The movie will be Avengers Infinity War, and that will be on the big screen. There is a nominal cost of $5 per car. Please visit the lamontparkdistrict.org website for more information, or you could call them at 630-257-6787. Also, on September 27th, the Rotary Club of Lamont Homer Glen will hold their 7th annual Autumn Craft Beer Tasting at El Sosimo's Pizzeria and Pub. That will be from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And again, for more information, you can reach them at 815-370-4942. Also, more importantly, we're going to be voting on a resolution later on, but we passed a home rule referendum. It's going to come up on the election Tuesday, November 6th. Obviously, we wanted that election where people are going to show up. It's better than an off election. We want people to voice what they want as far as how they want to address home rule. Again, we will have a detailed newsletter and Q&A coming out of the pluses and minuses of home rule, of what we are looking to do and not do. And we'll talk a little bit more about, we're passing a resolution later on of what we do not intend on doing. I've had several great conversations with people over the last week or two. Great conversations, healthy conversations about, hey, why are we doing this? You know, do we need to do it? What are we going to do if we don't pass it? It's been great conversations, and it's been great feedback. So we welcome feedback. We're going to be having probably some privately sponsored events where we talk about this, but obviously we will also be communicating this, you know, publicly in the newsletter, a Q&A, a detailed Q&A. You know, your typical newsletter from me is probably a page. You're going to get, 2 or 3 pages. Again, we want to be as transparent as possible, and we want feedback, you know, as far as what, what are people, what are your feelings on this, and why are we doing this? We want that feedback because we do have alternatives. We think this is the best alternative, but again, we want to hear from our, from our residents. So stay tuned there. That newsletter, George, should be coming out by the end of the month, hopefully.
The end of September, right? Yeah.
Okay, great. And we'll talk more about what we intend on not doing. We have to vote on that, but we have a resolution later on, and we'll comment a little bit more on that. So that's all. Please stay tuned on that. We'll have more details on that. But with that being said, I want to open it up for any audience participation. Rick, come on up. Rick, join the. Please step up to the microphone and state your name and your address if you feel comfortable of doing that.
Lamont, Illinois. Thank you for meeting with them this morning. Good breakfast. Appreciate that. Mayor and board, my name is Rick Lightheart. A number of years ago, I was one of the key persons involved with the Sports Complex Work Initiative. People called me and said, Rick, would you get involved and help us stop this thing? And so I was a key spokesperson for that, as you might remember. So obviously, I'm getting calls from a lot of Lamont people saying, Rick, would you go and find out? So I called John, I met with John and find out. Personally, I don't have a position on this yet. I don't have a position pro or con. I just don't have it yet. I'm still learning about, okay, home rule. I just know what happened with the soccer complex over in Bridgeview or whatever, and that whole home rule thing. And I did some ministry work over there, and I know that people were very disappointed with that, how home rule is. But understanding, hearing what you said about, well, there's some things we're not going to do under home rule. I think that's critical for me to understand, and certainly for the people of Lamont to understand. I look at this, I'm 65, and I look back, I've been here since 1992, 93. And I took my Cook County tax retreat, and I graphed every chart for every taxing district for the last 20-some-odd years, 28 years that I've been here. And all of them just increase, all of them just keep going. Fire, it doesn't make any difference. It's just, they just keep going. In the last, my statistics indicate that in the last since 2000, most of the taxing bodies have increased somewhere between 40 and 55%. That's what they've gone up in the last 10 years, or last 7 years. Now, I've been here 28 or something, and so to see my taxes go up that percentage, I look and say, okay, what now? I can't put the blame necessarily on all the taxing districts, because I know that the state has a lot to do with this. In our conversation this morning, I knew that when I talked with Brian, I knew that talking to the past mayors, okay, we send this money to the state, we never get it back. I've talked to other villages, because I've ministered in other villages. I've been to hundreds of different ministry meetings with other mayors and councils and all that kind of stuff, so I get it. I get it. My caution to you as a board is to be aware of the legacy you leave. I remember being here. I remember the past mayors and board members, and I am here today, and you are here today, and you're talking home rule. Why? Because of the ineptness of past leadership. We shouldn't be here today with broken pipes every day or every week or what have you. Leadership back then should have planned for these issues, whether it's police pensions or pipes or roads or whatever. We've had, I don't want to say this negatively, but we've had inept leadership unable to prepare for these incurred expenses that come in the future. So I can't say I'm disappointed with you guys as much as I am with the past people that have been in those chairs and now bring me here today to bring this up, because you need revenue. The village needs revenue. I get it. I get it. Okay. My disappointment is the heritage that we've had. My other fear of this home rule is when that goes into play, voters lose control. That's just how it goes. Voters lose control. We can't vote things out. We can't stop whatever increases. If you want to put a sales tax increase, that's up to you guys when that home rule comes in. So I'm pleasantly surprised when I heard you say what we're not going to do. I don't know what that is, what you're not going to do, but I'm fearful of what you are going to do if that's in line with what prior mayors and village board members have done since my 28 years being here. Because I don't want to be here right now. I want to be home with my wife. But I'm here because people have called and said, Rick, would you please go talk? So there's nobody else here. Most of the people of Lamont, they don't know. They don't know all about the home rule, whatever. Well, they're all going to work to pay their taxes, and they're all going to work. So they're probably not going to come out in droves to this issue. I am getting asked to do something about it. I don't know if I want to pick up that mantle and run with that yet, because I don't know enough yet about what you will do or what you won't do. But I will tell you, home rule scares me. It scares me because I know what happened in Bridgeview. And so I don't know what you guys are going to do. My word of caution is, please, don't put yourself in a position in 20 years when I'm in my grave and my relatives look back and say, well, geez, what the heck what were those guys thinking of back then? Because as I stand here today, I look back and I think of all the former mayors going, okay, how exactly could those guys have screwed up? They knew the pipes were going to go back. They knew the policemen were going to want their pensions. They knew the roads were going to, they knew this stuff. How could they not have planned and put that money away for us? So my recommendation to Ryan, Dave, Shar, John, George, Ken, Rick, Strun, I want you to leave a good legacy, okay? So please be very cautious with what you do here. My other advice to you is that if you can find a solution the way through this thing, I think Lamont could be a boilerplate on how to solve these types of issues. I don't know if this is it, but one of the persons I spoke with just before the meeting started, and they said, Rick, raising taxes has never worked. We're all in Illinois. We all know the problems. This is no surprise to us. So tax increases have never worked. I don't know what you guys are going to do, but if you think about a solution to this, Lamont could really be the boilerplate to helping whole Illinois turn around. Not so sure this home rule is the right thing. I'm not sure it isn't. I don't know yet. But my encouragement to you is that please be cautious, because you got a legacy to leave. And I can't say that I'm totally pleased with the legacy of past leadership of my village, because I'm here today standing. I don't want to be here standing. So I'm sorry that we're in this predicament. I'm sorry we don't have the road money or the pension money or the pipe money or whatever we had. I'm sorry that we don't have that. I don't blame you for it, though. But I will blame you for it if 10 or 20 years down the road, it's not fixed. Thank you. And I just want you to know, I'm praying for you guys. I know leadership is tough. Good luck. And if I have to fight you, I will. People are calling me and say, Rick, would you please step up? I'm 65. I don't have a lot of energy left in me. So thank you.
Fair enough. Thanks, Rick. And by the way, you're going to live longer than 20 years. You won't be in the grass. But no, thanks, Rick. And again, just to echo Rick's thoughts, you know, we will communicate. We will get the Q&As out there. We will address, you know, why we are in this situation. But more importantly, thank you, Rick, for voicing and being a voice of representation, because that's what we want to talk about. This is all about transparency. Let's talk about it. And hey, we're all in this together. We need a solution to this, right? And, you know, we think this might be the best solution, but you know what? We want to talk about it. So again, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Next up, I think we're done with audience participation. We go to the clerk's report. Charlene.
Okay, this evening, we have a resolution, and if passed, it would be R-43-18. And this is a resolution regarding home rule powers.
Okay, great. Need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. George.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the August 13th meeting, as the mayor mentioned, the village board did authorize a question to be placed on the November 6th general election ballot of home rule. Subsequently, all the appropriate filings have been made with the county, so that question will appear on for village ballots in Cook, Will, and DuPage County on November 6th. Home rule, as the mayor may have mentioned, does give government broad authority to self-govern, come up with its own policies, protocol for running the town. Essentially, home rule communities may do anything it deems necessary to run the town, as long as it hasn't been expressly prohibited by the state, which is the opposite of non-home rule, which the village can only do what the state specifically states it can do in many areas. The broad authority, as we heard tonight, can raise some concerns from residents. And we've heard some of those questions over the last few weeks. We'll hear many more. We're going to be getting out, as the mayor also mentioned, on our media channels, a letter from the mayor discussing home rule, pros, cons, alternatives, and a pretty detailed Q&A. So if you just stand pat, you will get that information by the end of the month. You'll also see some information on our website prior to that, but we do want to get that in everyone's hands by the end of the month so they can make the most informed decision possible. As part of that tonight, we've talked at the last two meetings about utilization of home rule. What does the board intend to do? What does the board intend not to do if it achieves home rule status as a village? So today, there is a resolution on the agenda that discusses restrictions of home rule. But I'll start first on some of the information that's going to go out on proposed uses. Of course, one of the advantages of home rule is that you have the flexibility to resolve problems as they come up. So I think you want that communities who have that flexibility are able to address problems as they come up, issues that we can't foresee now. In the future, we're able to address them. But definitely right now, I think the board has discussed putting into place a 1% sales tax in the community, and they would have the home rule authority to implement that tax, earmark it for capital needs. And so that is one thing the board has talked about, has also talked about other user fees on revenues that are intended to really reach the majority of non-residents as a majority versus residents. The village's primary revenues now under non-home rule almost primarily are assessed on residents. So the goal would be to kind of spread that burden to non-residents with the home rule implementations. One item tonight, though, the resolution on the agenda is a resolution of proposed restrictions. These are resolutions that future boards, generations can rescind, but I think it's important for this board to kind of make your intentions known to the community, what you won't do in home rule, since there are concerns out there. And we will include this in our communication efforts over the next several weeks. Three main areas that we've talked about at the last couple meetings. The tax levy is always a concern with home rule. As we mentioned, Rick, today, the village would no longer be subject to the tax caps as basically, essentially with a non-home rule entity, the village can only ask for taxes in excess of the previous year of the CPI plus growth. So as the cost of living goes up, you're able to access those additional revenues and nothing further. Home rule gives you broader authority, but one thing we've talked about as a board is to self-impose that the village will adhere to the tax caps moving forward. Again, the intention of home rule, most communities, when you look at the literature, do not raise property taxes above a nominal CPI. So that is one area that we talked about from a board is a tax levy. The other one that gets a lot of discussion is debt. The village has several issues of debt out currently. Primarily, it's infrastructure, it's water and sewer, it's the village constructed its police station, had to issue debt, obviously didn't have the cash on hand, so issued debt for the police station, the village hall remodel. Majority of the debt is for true infrastructure that helps run the village, helps provide services to the community. But debt is another concern of home rule that we've heard from residents is that the village's caps on debt would be lifted. But this board has talked about ensuring that there are multiple public hearings if the village were to issue debt. In the future, there are no immediate plans for debt. I think we went through the budget process, strategic planning. We haven't really talked about a whole lot of debt needs right now. Our facilities are in pretty good shape. Our water and sewer, at least the wells were just upgraded. But if there are needs for debt in the future, the village would make sure that there's ample public hearings for those purposes. The other one would be for, as a further restriction or comfort for the residents is that if there is a project that falls outside those boundaries of true capital, I think you mentioned another community, Toyota Park, for example. If there was a project like that, that this village board would present that to the voters as an advisory referendum as another step. I think that's important to still include the community on issues of debt of that nature. The last one, I do get several concerns on home rule authority. Some communities will use it for regulation of real estate to an extent of attempting to implement a transfer tax. Now you have to go to referendum beyond a home rule referendum to do transfer tax at the sale of a property. So the village has no intention, but some home rule towns have done a point of sale inspection. So before any home in town could be sold privately, the village would impose an extra inspection. This board, in talking to, has no intention to slow down real estate transactions. We're a bedroom community. 80% of our EAV is residential in Lamont. It's not our intention to slow down move-ins, move-outs of real estate. So that is the third area that we've talked about in this resolution, but there'll be more information coming out in the coming weeks, but that is the essence of the resolution today, Mr. Mayor.
Right. And just to reiterate what George said, it is not the intention of this board to raise property taxes. We do not want to, this is not a way of going beyond the tax cap on property taxes. We've talked, and that's one of the reasons why we want to go this route, is we do not want to raise property taxes, and we don't want to take on additional debt. Our debt reached a height of, I think, near $38 million, which was about 5 or 6 years ago. We plan on getting that closer to $29 million. But again, that's not our intention. That's why, we would prefer not to do this solely on the backs of our residents. We would prefer to be able to do this in a way that minimizes the burden on our residents and tries to hit, what I would call non-residents or external users. We have roads that are used by truck traffic. We have no way of calming this truck traffic without certain home rule type of opportunities. So, that's just one example. And again, stay tuned for more information. That's just my 2 cents on it, but I open it up to the board for any comments or additional color on this. All right.
I think I've got one, John.
Go ahead, Rick.
This is regarding debt. I think it would be important for us to show what our EAV is and what our potential for indebtedness would be versus where we are currently at and what it is that we propose to be that limit. Maybe in some kind of graphic form that would show what room we do have and where we plan to stop. Just in a simple sense, if we were at 50% of the allowable debt limit, you would show that line at that point, just so it would give a graphic understanding of what we're talking about here. So I think that'd be an important thing. So, and I think, Rick, these things address the things that we're not going to do. I think it's important to be clear about that as we define these items.
On the issue of the revenues, so let's say it passes and we get revenues. Would the village consider, if we get, let's just say, if we get $1 million in revenues, $250,000 is going to go to pay down debt. Are you considering that whatever we get in revenues, we're paying down that debt? That's in there to pay down the debt, or is the debt just out there and it just floats? So could there be an addendum attached to this home rule, when we get revenue in, we're paying down the debt first off, and then we'll go to fix the pipes. But is there a link to pay down the debt?
Yeah, I think indirectly there is, because what we have as part of, a policy is to try and maintain a cash balance. We call it a reserve of, 3 million in our general reserve. That in essence kind of says, hey, in case, God forbid, another recession hits, we can weather that storm without going to the market. But in essence, anything above and beyond that, we would be looking to pay down debt, or we would be looking to pay down other debt. I'm looking at Chief over here for the police pension. Again, that's how we're looking at this. We're looking to, it's just like anyone's house. I mean, you're looking to either pay off your mortgage or your credit card debt. So I mean, that's something we might want to consider is, hey, what is our, when you do have additional monies, what is going to be the breakout of capital spend versus, if there's something above and beyond that.
Not going to do, but if you would say, here's what we're going to do, we get that money in, we're paying down the debt. Not totally, but part of it. That would make me feel better that we're paying down. Debt's a killer of everything. Debt kills everything.
Yep.
So I just brought that up. I don't know if you
No, I appreciate that. And what we'll do is, I think as we kind of fine tune it, because what we've recognized is that, Ralph, I'll look at you because a lot of this is just pure infrastructure. We're looking at probably a couple years, don't hold me to this, of at least $1 million of infrastructure that we need to invest in. But hey, what happens if, all of a sudden, our sales tax increases and we're bringing in excess of $1 million? I think, we can articulate, and that'd be a great problem to have, obviously, but I think we can articulate on the other side, when we do have excess, what the plan is. I know, just as we've talked as a group, we've talked about, hey, we don't want property, taxes going up. We don't want debt going up. So are we going to go out and hire additional people? No, that's not the idea. I mean, we want the proper service there. Again, we'll talk more. I think right now we might be at some of the minimum service. But again, as far as, when we have excess, that'd be a great problem to have. So we can articulate that.
Yeah, the other quick point of clarification, and with all of the village's debt, 100% of the village's debt, it actually gets paid out currently with village revenue. I know that seems like obvious, but other taxing districts, other villages, they will actually put that debt on the tax bill, so the taxpayers end up paying the debt for the village. The village, past boards have taken the position to use its existing revenues, whether it be sales tax, utility tax, but primarily it's water and sewer revenue, to pay down its own debt so that they're able to keep the property taxes low for the village residents. So that's something we will clarify too.
That's something to reiterate, is that, with the new police station, the village hall was in ruins. We kept that. That did not go on the tax roll. It could have been, I don't want to say easy, but I think the more burdensome thing from a property tax would be to put it on the tax roll and that, the taxes go up. But we're trying to pay that off because the infrastructure, was thought to be, last X number of years, 30, 40 years, let's pay it off over that time period. So.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, comments? All right, with that being said, can we have a roll call, please?
Stapleton,
Yes.
Latzer absent, Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
McClafferty,
Yes.
Snagowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. All right, thank you, Charlene. All right, next up is village attorney report. An executive, thank you. All right. George, village administrator report.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I did have two quick items. The letters have gone out from ComEd on the aggregation program. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the village's new energy supplier sent out letters to residents informing them of the switch, Constellation Energy, and the residents should have received one from ComEd confirming that switch as well. The one thing we have heard, if there are any unincorporated residents out there, the township residents have received, some of them have received a letter as well. If they included you in the program, you'll be able to save along with village residents. If you don't want to be part of that program, you can call ComEd, but we've been getting a few questions, ComEd might have included some not unincorporated residents as well. But you could call the village hall or call the township office. We've been in contact with Steve Rosendahl, the superintendent, as well on that issue. The other one, I know we've mentioned it at previous meetings, but the village wants to receive feedback from the community. We're implementing a new program called Polco. Basically, it's a surveying tool. It's a little more advanced than your typical Survey Monkey. It's able to give us a little bit of data on location and village resident, non-resident, a little bit more information, a little bit more statistically valid survey tool. There's been a few different questions that have gone out on Farmers Market, Heritage Fest. We're going to start over the next month or so. Tomorrow, I think there's going to be questions on community sentiment towards different services, departments maybe. So please take your opportunity to fill out those surveys. It is 100% anonymous. I know we did get one comment on Facebook. Why do they ask for my name and email if it's anonymous? That's really for confirming the validity of the survey. We do not get any emails or names, but they're able to confirm that you're not voting multiple times. So that is it is anonymous. It's a good way to get your feedback to the community, and we will present that at future meetings. But you can sign up by going to polco.us/Lamont. That's all I have for you.
Okay.
One note on that ComEd letter, only because I've heard it a couple times been asked. You don't need to call them unless you have questions or you want to opt out.
Correct.
The way the letter is written, it's almost as if you need to call to confirm that you want to be in. That's not what the letter says. What the letter says is call with questions or to opt out.
Yeah, good point, Rick. And again, the Polco, again, we're trying to use as many different avenues of communication, transparency. So again, we encourage everyone to utilize that. And as George mentioned, the name is just there so that we know you're a legitimate resident, but we're not sharing your name or going beyond that. So with that being said, next up, board reports. I think we're all good. Any staff reports? Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. October 1st begins the hunting season in Illinois. First with bows and then with firearms. And we frequently get calls of shots being fired in the area that turn out to be legal hunting. So they may start to hear hunters in the area surrounding the village. No hunting is permitted in the village limits of Lamont. However, it is permitted in the unincorporated areas of Cook, Will, and DuPage counties, very close to Lamont, and the firearms, especially once the leaves fall off, carry a good distance. If you hear that, call us. We'll be willing to come out and check it out and make sure that it's legal hunting, but know that it's out there. And the hunting regulations can be found on the Department of Natural Resources website, and that'll be on our website as well.
All right, Chief, great. And you said that starts October 1st?
The bow hunting, October 1st, and then the children's or the kids' firearms is October 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then November starts the full deer hunting firearm season.
All right, thanks, Chief. Ralph, you good? You got it? All right. All right, sounds good. All right, next up, any unfinished or new business? I think we're good. With that being said, we are going to have an executive session. I do not believe we will have any decision needed to go back into public session. But with that being said, need a motion to go into executive session under Chapter 5, ILCS 120 of the Open Meetings Act. We will be discussing the performance of an employee under Section 2C1, pending litigation, I should say, under 2C11, and collective bargaining under 5 ILCS 2C2. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Trustee Stapleton, seconded by Trustee Snagowski. Can I have a roll call, please?
Stapleton,
Yes.
Platzer absent, Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
McClafferty,
Yes.
Snagowski.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved, and we will now enter executive session.